What is up, everybody? We are back here at King Films for another video, and this time it's the college football bowl predictions. We're doing the New Year's 6 college football playoff and national championship predictions, but we will start out with some other notable bowl games. AJ, what do we have here?
Yeah, so let's start with the Cure Bowl. We've got a lock, but different predictions. You can see my winner prediction on the left and Ryan's on the right. Ryan has the Chanticleers, as you can see, from Coastal Carolina, a highly ranked squad. And I've got Liberty +6 as a lock, as well as the money line on this team. This was a matchup that was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago. Instead, BYU played Coastal Carolina, and Coastal Carolina won. But Coastal Carolina did not play last week. Neither did Liberty, as they are independent. But this is a Liberty team that gave some ACC opponents all they could handle. NC State, you see them later on the graphic, but they gave them a hell of a game. And this is a Liberty team that I think will stay close. And the reason I like this lock, as well as Liberty, I already gave my reasons for sticking with Liberty as a team, but the reason I like this as a lock is that Coastal has not been able to distance themselves from opponents this year. Ryan, would you like to explain your lock on the Cheez-It Bowl?
Well, in the Cheez-It Bowl, I will be taking the Oklahoma State Cowboys to defeat the Miami Hurricanes. And I just have them at -3, which is really almost a pick 'em game. And I like the Pokes this year. Obviously won't have Chuba Hubbard for this one, but I like the way the O-line is trending. And they've, by and large, had a successful season. They need to capitalize on a bowl win here. And, I mean, it's been trending in a downward direction, but they're still going to be able to win games. Whereas the Hurricanes, the last time we saw this team, they got the doors blown off of them by UNC in their home stadium. I mean, that was a primetime afternoon game, and they just got blown out by 40 to the Tar Heels. So I like the Cowboys' offense in this one. And then, I mean, Derek King's last college football game, I mean, maybe he can do something, but the Cowboys' defense is actually pretty good. So give me Oklahoma State -3.
Yeah, so in that Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, the next one, we both have NC State to win the game. They're playing against a dismal Kentucky team who really hasn't shown anything. They've lost to all the good SEC teams. Their one ranked win was against a Tennessee team that down the stretch has just collapsed. So Kentucky is somehow favored in this matchup. So, I mean, we both have NC State to win, so obviously we're going to lock that +3 spread there. And that's pretty much our reasoning. Again, NC State beat a solid Liberty team, has played the gauntlet in the ACC, has only lost to the good ACC teams, and this is a subpar SEC squad.
Yes, and I would like to agree because I just feel like this line is some SEC bias here. I mean, Kentucky really didn't even do anything in the SEC East. I mean, they played Georgia a little bit close, lost 14-3. Got blown up by Bama. I mean, so this NC State team, I mean, they're not going to roll here, but I expect them to win as well.
All right, next for the Alamo Bowl, we both differ, but I do have a lock on Colorado to keep this one close. This is a good Colorado team, and I think we're seeing some Big 12 bias here. The Colorado, they have marquee wins over San Diego State and some other squads. Their only loss of the season, their only blemish, was to Utah. They didn't get to play last week, so they're fresh against what I call an overrated Longhorns team that pretty much doesn't have a marquee win except for that close Oklahoma one in the Red River rivalry, and that was weeks back. So, and Colorado hasn't played as many games. I see them fresh. If not the win, they'll at least cover this spread.
So next game, we have the Arizona Bowl for our last notable bowl game. And we're both taking the Spartans here, but I'm locking them in at -7 over Ball State. I love the way this team is trending late part of the season. That D-line is really carrying. It carried them to a Mountain West title against Boise State. I mean, they absolutely pressured Hank Bachmeier, and he was one of the best Mountain West quarterbacks. He could not do anything against this talented Spartans defense. I think their defense will get a few turnovers against Ball State, and their offense is going to put up a few points as well. They've been one of the Mountain West's most touted offenses. So now to the New Year's 6 predictions. And AJ, who do you have for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl?
In the Cotton Bowl, I'm going to roll with Oklahoma here. They're coming off a big win in that title game, and Florida's coming off a loss here. I think it'll be close either way, but I see Oklahoma squeaking it out. They're playing much better football as of late since that loss to Texas, and, I think they'll squeak this one out against a really good Gator team. Why do you have the lock on the Gators here?
Well, I have a lock on the Gators here. It's obviously the -3 spread, which I've already hinted at is more like a money line game. And I like Kyle Trask. This is going to be his last college game ever. He's really left his mark on college football this year, and he's not going to win the Heisman most likely, but I think he's going to have one of his best games against a pretty bad Oklahoma defense. He's going to have a lot of weapons at his disposal, although Kyle Pitts is out for this one. He's going to have a few tight ends, which are pretty good in gamble. And then Kadarius Toney, a great receiver along with Grimes. I mean, you saw they torched Alabama. They got 46 points against Bama. They're going to put up at least 46 against Oklahoma, you'd presume. And I don't know about Spencer Rattler. I mean, Florida has some people on their defense that can make some splash plays. So when it's all said and done, I want Florida. I think they're going to win this game. And the -3 spread just is too low for me, so I've got to lock in the Florida Gators -3. And then the next game, we have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, another SEC squad in Georgia, who I am taking to win, and really it's from the quarterback play. JT Daniels has uplifted this team so much. I mean, I know Cincinnati is the feel-good story. They're the Group of 5 team that everyone wanted to make the playoff, but here's the reason they won't make a playoff. The third or fourth best SEC team will knock off this team in their New Year's Six Bowl. I mean, Georgia has one of the best defenses, if not the best in the SEC. Just the reason it just didn't matter because the SEC offenses were just so much better. But I think that defense can reign supreme here against a Cincinnati team who I think really hasn't been tested against a great defense so far. And then obviously you have Zamir White and some players, Pickens on the Georgia offense. So I really like them in this one. I mean, there is a lofty spread of 7.5, so I can't take them to cover that, but I think they win. What about you, AJ?
I just agree with everything you've said there. A good SEC squad, and Cincy just barely pulled out that conference title game there, so I'm going with Georgia. On to the Fiesta Bowl, we differ again. So I'm going to go with Oregon here. They beat a really good USC squad, and I think that this Pac-12 overall is just a little bit underrated here. Oregon's just sitting at that number 25. Maybe you question whether they're here at all, but I think this Oregon team can play with anyone in the country. They might have a couple opt-outs for the bowl season, but I think Iowa State will too. So I think they can pull out a close one and shock a lot of people here. This is not abnormal for bowl season. Why are you going with the Cyclones?
Well, I like the Cyclones here. I mean, really, it's going to be one of Matt Campbell's last. I think this might be his last game. I think he might be headed for an NFL job. One of the best coaches in college football this season. And then you have Brock Purdy, his last game, Breece Hall, and they have a really talented O-line, and they just didn't show up in the first half against Oklahoma. I think they're going to right the ship in this one, and they're probably getting the most favorable matchup for a New Year's Six game in Oregon. And I know Oregon is special on the defensive side. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, obviously the player of the Pac-12 championship, and then you have Sewell, Penei Sewell's younger brother, who's on defense, and then you have a few good players in the secondary who really limited Keaton Slovis. But I think Brock Purdy in this Iowa State offense will be able to move the ball on the ground, something USC didn't do. And then really Tyler Shuck doesn't do it for me on the Ducks offensive side of the ball. And Iowa State held Oklahoma in check in that Big 12 championship game. So I don't expect Oregon to put up a lot of points. Maybe you consider the under in this one, but I got to favor the Cyclones. So next for the Capital One Orange Bowl. This one is a great matchup, featuring Texas A&M, who many thought got jobbed, should have been in the playoffs, would have given Alabama a better run, against the Tar Heels of UNC, who were very outstanding in their last time out. And give me the UNC Tar Heels to win the game, and I'll take the points +6. I really think Sam Howell is a great quarterback, and I think Mac Brown's team will be very prepared for this game. They really moved the ball on the ground against Miami. I mean, what? Did they have 400 total yards on the ground? And I know Miami doesn't have a great defense, but you saw the way that Alabama moved the ball on the Aggies. I mean, they're not the best team on the ground. I mean, the Aggie defense got lit up by Kyle Trask when they played. So I think UNC is going to put up a lot of points. I know this game's going to be close, And another reason is, I mean, in these New Year's Six games, when there's a team that really thinks they should have been in, I mean, you would think that they would show up for their bowl game and really show the committee why they deserve to be in. But a thing that is a reality in college football is the team that's at that number 5 spot, like we saw Georgia a couple of years ago, they just give in that New Year's Six game because they realize it just doesn't matter. So, along with UNC trending upward, I'm going to be taking them in a close game. And obviously you differ, AJ. Why are you taking the Aggies of Texas A&M?
Yeah, I really like this squad under Kellen Mond. I think he's a great quarterback for the squad. They haven't played great down the stretch, but they've been able to do it in a tough SEC from pretty much top to bottom. They beat an LSU squad that obviously went on to beat Florida the next week. So I think this Aggie team still has it. And I think the Tar Heels are just a little overrated. Sure, they got a great matchup against Miami there. They have a strong run game. In Texas A&M, this is a great defensive squad. I just can't see them losing this game. And now on to what you've all been waiting for, our college football playoff predictions. Ryan, who have you got in the first round?
Well, in the granddaddy of them all, Rose Bowl game taking place in AT&T Stadium, Alabama versus Notre Dame. And I know I'm gonna make some remarks on this 4-seed Notre Dame. They don't deserve to be in. I mean, their resume was certainly pretty good, but I just don't think they're going to hang with this Alabama team. I mean, you've got everything right. Potential Heisman, Devontae Smith, the favorite, Mac Jones, Najee Harris. I mean, they can light this Notre Dame defense up. I mean, you saw that Florida defense is a lot better than this Notre Dame defense, and they gave up 52. So, I mean, if Alabama wants to, and if they need to, they can put up 60 here. So, really, what it comes down to is the Notre Dame offense. Notre Dame's offense is going to have to put up 50 points. Can they do that? Absolutely not. You saw Ian Book. I mean, everyone likes him, and everyone was saying he was underrated, but really not. They only had 3 points against a Clemson defense who's pretty good. I think Alabama's defense is a little bit better. So, they only had 3 points for the first 3 quarters. So, are they going to hang with this Alabama team? Maybe in the first half like they did against Clemson. Maybe for the first quarter, they come out hot because Brian Kelly gets his team ready to go after they got schooled against Clemson. But I really see this being a blowout. And then in the All-State Sugar Bowl, we've got this semifinal matchup a couple times. And give me Clemson getting the 3-peat against Ohio State in these semifinals. I really think Trevor Lawrence balls out in this semifinal matchup. I mean, they got off to a slow start against Ohio State last year, and they really almost paid the price. But I think more so, it's that Clemson really stayed the same from last year, and Ohio State got a lot worse, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you saw it was a shootout against Indiana, and Justin Fields, has he regressed? I mean, that was a terrible game against Northwestern. I mean, they might have a legit defense, but Clemson's is certainly a lot better, so they got to get dialed in on the offensive side of the ball. But even so, give me Clemson to win against the Buckeyes. AJ, what about you?
I've actually got the Buckeyes in the Sugar Bowl here. I've liked what they've done all year. They didn't show their best self against a good Northwestern team. I think that Northwestern team is by far the second best team in the Big Ten, and they have a great defense. I think Ohio State could come into this game a little more prepared than they were for that championship game, just because of all the COVID issues and stuff, and they'll have plenty of time to prepare now, a couple weeks. And I think they'll be well prepared for a Clemson team that Notre Dame was just not, and this will be a little more neutral site than that. And I see the Buckeyes winning a close one. They'll want revenge from last year. All the motivating factors are there for both sides. This is a great Buckeye squad. Have a quality win over Indiana. They've got that one over Northwestern, and they're going to take Clemson here. And then I wanted to address that Alabama game. Give me a lock for that 19-point spread. Yeah, you might fear that Notre Dame cover. As Ryan mentioned, they could get a couple late points in the fourth, but let's see what we saw with Clemson versus Notre Dame a couple years ago. 30-3, they just lied on their back. But I think even if they get a couple fourth quarter points, Alabama will already have put up 50 on them. Yes, lock Alabama for this game. And Ryan, who do you have in the championship?
Well, in the championship game, it's going to be very close, and we've seen this 4 times prior in the college football playoff era. And for the 5th time, the tiebreaker, give me the Clemson Tigers in this one. And really, because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to ball out. This would be his last game of his college football career. And he got to the championship game last year, and that was his worst game of the season against a pretty good LSU defense. He cannot be, in his college career, one of the best prospects of all time and go 1-2 in the national championship game. So I think that Clemson offense is going to roll in that one. Bama's defense isn't great, and they obviously have Travis Etienne. This will be his last game. Some great receivers, Amari Rodgers. So I think they're going to put up a lot of points, and if Alabama wants to hang with them, it's going to be a shootout. So Mac Jones in his first title game with the Bama Crimson Tide, I think he might ball out as well. I think this is going to be a shootout. This is going to be one of those Deshaun Watson and Jalen Hurts type national championship games. Najee Harris is going to have a great day on the ground, but you've just got to give me Trevor Lawrence in the clutch. I know it's going to be a shootout. I know it's going to be close. It's probably going to come down to last possession, but give me Clemson and the proven commodity. Obviously, AJ, you've got the Crimson Tide, and why?
Well, yeah, so I've got the completely different matchup. This would be a rematch from the 2014 1-4 matchup that happened there. And, this is just going to be a great game, but I see Alabama taking this one. I think Ohio State would have to have a lot go their way to get to this. And I think Alabama will have had a pretty easy way against Notre Dame, as I've said before, locking the 19.5-point spread. And I think they'll just maybe mop the floor with Ohio State. It could be close. I want to see a close championship, don't get me wrong. But either way, I've got Alabama. This is just too powerful a team. And Ryan, any closing thoughts?
Well, I think some of these other bowl games might not be as good, but I think this New Year's Six slate is going to be as entertaining as any in any other year. And as the usual, one of these college football semifinals will be very lopsided. You won't find almost anyone except for a Notre Dame fan backing them in that one. I do think we will have a great game in Clemson, Ohio State, and then a great national championship. So a great close to a tumultuous college football season is what we all need, and let's hope for that in the closing weeks.
Yeah, so we'll actually put a Bowl Mania link down below if you guys want to get in that group for King Films, and thank you for watching.